Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Andy, and welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. Today, we have updates about how we continue to invest in our Kentucky communities. When we invest in our communities, that investment helps to improve the lives of our families, and it supports economic growth and new jobs. Today, we're announcing 12 projects from our Community Development Block Grant Program that invests $8.5 million in our Kentucky communities. These projects are building community centers, health centers, and making Kentucky safer and healthier. I want to highlight just a few of these projects. The city of Cynthiana will use $750,000 to renovate and expand a fire station. The Fire Station 1 will be expanded to provide an additional vehicle bay, allowing the fire department to house their full fleet at the station. That makes them even more ready to respond when Cynthiana families are in their time of need. Station 1 serves the western half of the city, and I know everyone there is excited to see their fire and emergency services expand. We have a video from Cynthiana Mayor James Smith overviewing the project.
Receiving this grant for our nearly 100-year-old Fire Station 1 expansion and renovation project is transformative for our fire department and community. It means enhanced safety, faster response times, and better equipped firefighters ready to protect our lives and property. With this funding, we can improve our facilities, accommodate more future personnel, and ensure our first responders have the resources to serve effectively. This investment fortifies our emergency services and strengthens our community's resilience and trust in our commitment to their well-being. Thank you for supporting a safer, stronger future for all of us in Cynthiana.
Up next, we have the City of Glasgow, working with the Barron County Family YMCA on an exciting project. Glasgow will use $750,000 to build an addition to the YMCA. This addition will house their already successful senior citizens meal and exercise program. When we talk about building a better Kentucky for all our families, that means we have to support our seniors. We're excited to support programs that make sure no senior goes hungry and that help them stay active and healthy. We have a video from Mayor Henry Royce about the project.
This grant that's going to help the YMCA is going to do so much for our community. We have a tremendous senior program started at the Y, which is going to be feeding 300 seniors. This addition to the Y is also going to allow for senior classes and serve a need of our community that many times is underserved. So we're so excited our local YMCA is going to be getting this grant to take us even further into meeting the needs.
I've been to the Glasgow YMCA, I think twice now. It is truly a community hub providing a lot of services. This is further investment in that facility that will better serve the community. Nicholas County will use $750,000 to help build a new emergency medical services station. In 2021, Nicholas County experienced severe flooding. The floodwaters reached many areas of the community, including parts of town like Main Street that had rarely ever seen this type of flooding. I was there in the days after, saw the fire trucks that had been entirely destroyed. And sadly, we lost one Kentuckian during that flooding. We've tried to work with the community since then because of not enough overall damage. They were not FEMA approved. So previously, we provided nearly $1 million to help Nicholas County repair damaged infrastructure. But the EMS station, which was flooded, and 2 ambulances that had been destroyed, today that's been cleaned up, but EMS is still operating out of that same building. We knew we had to take action to make sure the community had the resources they needed to rebuild, and this program provided us those resources. So today we have a video from Nicholas County Judge Executive Steve Hamilton about the project.
Good morning. My name is Steve Hamilton, Nicholas County Judge Executive. And on behalf of our community and the quality of life and health care of our citizens, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Governor's Office, Department of Local Government for this award for a CDBG grant to help build a new ambulance service. It'll be very beneficial to our community in life-saving response time and help us move out of a floodplain area, prone area that we were unfortunately a victim of a few years ago. And once again, I want to thank everyone in Frankfort for all their support of Nicholas County, and we appreciate you. Have a good day.
After the flooding and the difficult news that federal aid would not be there, we made a promise to Judge Hamilton, his magistrates, and the community that we would find ways to reinvest, especially in these public services that had been damaged. So excited today, another $750,000 on top of the million we previously provided to help that community. The full list of projects will be in a press release that it will be issued today. Today, I also have an update on both the May 26 storms as well as the April 2nd storms. Let's start with May 26, and it's important that we separate these two because one, we're still reporting on damage and looking to make the application for potential FEMA assistance. The other has been approved. So it's important for people to know, depending on the storm that may have impacted them, where we are and what's available. FEMA, local government, and state agencies are currently conducting joint preliminary damage assessments for the May 26 storm, the most recent one, in 55 counties. This process aims to confirm damages to private and public properties caused by tornadoes and severe storms. Upon completion of these assessments, we will work to submit a disaster declaration request to the president. That's what can result in the public and individual assistance that we saw after the massive flooding in 2022, after the tornadoes in 2021, and after the April 2nd storms. As a reminder, impacted Kentuckians are encouraged to contact their insurance carrier, maintain thorough records of expenses they've incurred, and photograph damages and repairs. Remember, it's those damages that you also send to your county EMS director or through your fiscal court that we are then able to combine for overall amounts of damages. We use that as the basis to apply for individual assistance and to apply for public assistance. So even though you might not need that assistance, your documentation can help to reach the thresholds that are necessary to get other people that help. That happened on those April 2nd storms. And it's pretty amazing how people came together in really scattered storms, submitted a lot of information, and now some people are getting help. But as an update on the May 27th storm, the first sad news is that we can now confirm a 6th death from those set of storms. I believe, and we need to confirm this, it was a 99-year-old woman in Laurel County. But we know that we can confirm a 6th death from those storms. When we look at sheltering at Pennyrile Forest State Resort Park, we currently have 12 families consisting of 47 individuals in 12 units. This is now the second time we've opened that state park to help those families. Most of those families are from the 2 small towns outside of Dawson Springs that got hit, Barnsley that had been hit before, and Charleston, which was hit by an F3 tornado this time. At Barren River Lake State Resort Park, we have 1 family consisting of 2 individuals housed in 1 unit. Okay, so that is the May 27th storms and the updates. Let's move to April 2nd. Families in Boyd, Carter, Fayette, Greenup, Henry, Jefferson, Jessamine, Mason, Oldham, Union, and Whitley counties that have damage from the severe storms that struck on April 2nd may be eligible for federal aid. As we already submitted and received that federal disaster declaration, and individual assistance was activated. As a reminder, if you are a survivor who had damage on the April 2nd storms and you are in one of those counties, you can apply in the following ways. You can visit disasterassistance.gov. You can call the FEMA number on that screen. You can use the FEMA app, or you can visit a disaster recovery center. Disaster recovery centers, there is a locator on the FEMA.gov website, and I'm going to talk about them in a minute. Here's where we stand on individual assistance disbursements to date. 419 designated county registrations have been received. Those are 419 applications. More than $363,000 has been dispersed through the program. More than $231,000 was in the form of housing assistance, and more than $131,000 has been in the form of other needs assistance. For those impacted, there are 4 centers open. These are the disaster recovery centers where families can visit face-to-face with FEMA staff, where they can apply for aid, ask questions, and receive updates about their case. They are in Ashland, which is Boyd County, Eminence in Henry County, Fayette County is Lexington, and then in Morganfield in Union County. These details are on the screen along with the hours that you can visit those facilities. FEMA may also be able to provide financial assistance to help survivors whose vehicles were damaged as a result of the storms on April 2nd. The first step is for survivors to file a claim with their insurance company. Today, we also have new news when it comes to the opening of 2 small business administration business recovery centers. We now have 2 centers open. One is in Nicholasville and Jessamine County. That went through an industrial, the tornado there that touched down during those April 2nd storms went through a business/industrial park, damaging a lot of businesses, as well as one in Prospect at the Anchorage Middletown Fire Station. Tornado ripped directly through, I think it was Hunting Creek subdivision and the surrounding area there. These centers are offering low interest disaster loans to small businesses, nonprofit organizations, homeowners, and renters. The centers are open for the families in the 11 declared counties I previously read, and it's where you can meet with staff and learn how they may be able to assist with your needs. If you cannot make it to one of these locations, they also have representatives at each of the FEMA disaster recovery centers. So let me go back over this. Can we go back to the FEMA disaster recovery center slide? These are the areas that you can go in, meet with FEMA representatives, and the Small Business Administration will have representatives there if that is the program that you are going to or need to apply through. Now, if you switch to the other slide, there are 2 additional centers that are open that just have the small business recovery, and those are in Nicholasville because, again, there was specific damage that makes this a smart idea to open in this area as well as in Prospect. Today, we also have some good news for folks in those 11 counties who are out of work because of the April 2nd storms. You may be eligible to apply for disaster unemployment assistance benefits through the Kentucky Office of Unemployment Insurance. Here are some of the guidelines of the federal programs. Self-employed individuals are eligible. Individuals must have been living or working in the affected areas, again, those areas in those 11 counties, and they must have become unemployed or had their work interrupted as a direct result of the April 2nd, 2024 storms. Our administration has also filed an executive order to temporarily waive work search requirements for these individuals, just to give you enough time to get back on your feet. To qualify for disaster unemployment assistance, individuals must meet one of several conditions of unemployment, which are listed on the screen as a direct result of the disaster. This assistance is available to individuals who qualify for the weeks of unemployment beginning April 7th, 2024 until November 23rd, 2024, as long as their unemployment continues to be a direct result of the disaster. So I encourage individuals who believe they may be eligible to visit the Kentucky Career Center website at kcc.ky.gov or call 502-875-0442. The deadline to apply is Monday, August 12th. Finally, we have some more positive news for those Kentuckians in the 11 counties that were impacted by the April 2nd storm. There will be special tax relief at the federal and state level, postponing all tax filing and payment deadlines after April 2nd, 2024 to November 1st, 2024. This includes deadlines for income tax returns and tax payments for individual income tax, corporate income tax withholding, and limited liability entity tax. Late fees will be waived for the affected taxpayers, again, whose ability to pay those taxes timely was impacted by those April 2nd storms. For more information, visit the Kentucky Department of Revenue's website. But I hope what people see on this is we treat every one of these natural disasters, trying to provide every bit of relief for our families. Now, if you were impacted by the April 2nd storms, you were just as important as if you were impacted by one of the previous larger natural disasters. Our goal is to provide as many of these services to those that have been hurt, impacted, lost a loved one, lost a home, every time that we can, and to take every single one of them seriously. And we have some upcoming weather, because we always do. We must stay vigilant when it comes to our weather, and it can be dangerous in all different forms. What we see coming is the first significant heat wave of this season. High temperatures return to the upper 80s, nearly 90 for Thursday into Saturday. Highs for Sunday and Monday are expected to be in the low to mid 90s, with heat indices around 100, with above normal heat continuing into next week. With these temperatures, we want everybody to know that illnesses are possible, especially for those without adequate cooling and hydration. So whether you work outside or you're enjoying outdoor activities, just be careful, stay hydrated, get some shade, go inside when you need to. It's going to be really hot. Look out for your loved ones, check on neighbors. Just make sure we continue to be the good Kentuckians we are. And we recognize when it gets really hot, we can lose people. But if we are vigilant and if we look out for one another, then we can get everybody through any type of weather, no matter how difficult. Today, we've had some great updates, and all this comes at a time when I just closed out the first 6 months of my second term. I remain committed to taking the actions needed to further job growth, combat addiction, speed recovery from natural disasters, boost tourism, and make the Commonwealth a better place to live for our families and a better place to work. Just think about some of the major wins we've seen recently. We continue the biggest, best economic development win streak in our history. The largest announcement over the past 6 months came from one of our foundations, one of our most important employers here in Kentucky. That's Toyota Motor Manufacturing, which will increase its investment in electric vehicle production at its Georgetown facility to $1.3 billion. We also joined community leaders to open the training center that will prepare 5,000 Kentuckians for new jobs at the Blue Oval SK Battery Park. The park in Glendale will contain the 2 largest EV plants in the world. We announced that the state has completed its 3rd round of awards to provide private developers the ability to build federally funded EV charging stations. We have now approved 42 charging stations for a total of $27.2 million in federal formula funds, and we will have a charging station in the coming years every 50 miles on each of our interstates and our parkways. These investments further solidify Kentucky as the EV capital of the United States. In fact, our EV battery-related economic development projects now total a whopping $11.7 billion of new private sector investment and are expected to create 10,250 full-time jobs. And Site Selection Magazine has us currently ranked 3rd nationally in economic development per capita and 1st in the South Central region. We've also been committed to job-ready site development. This is never slowing down, knowing that the next company is just as important as the last one. And if we want to win the speed to market race, if we want to be able to continue to tell companies they can get up and operating faster in Kentucky than anywhere else, we have to continue improving sites that they could locate and finding that next site and improving it too. This year alone, we've announced 24 projects throughout the 2nd round of the Kentucky Product Development Initiative, which is the state's program to support the development and expansion of job sites. That's benefited 26 counties thus far this year. We are no longer a flyover state. We are the destination. We've been the first call from some of the most sophisticated companies in the world that used to not call us at all. We are a destination for new jobs, for new investment, for foreign direct investment. It is an exciting time to have this buzz around us nationally about where companies want to locate. In February, we announced that more Kentucky-made products were shipped around the world in 2023 than in any other year on record. The Commonwealth broke its single-year total with $40.2 billion in exports, a 16.6% increase over the previous year. And one of the reasons that's important is we've always touted making things in Kentucky as one of the advantages that we have to convince you to make things in Kentucky, that you can reach 60% of the U.S.'s population in a one-day drive. But last year, we broke our record for exporting outside of the United States with what we make and provide here in Kentucky. So now we're not just a conduit to the rest of the United States. We're a place you can locate and ultimately export around the entire world. With Worldport by UPS in Louisville, with DHL's North American headquarters in Northern Kentucky, with Amazon's largest investment ever in their company as their air hub in Northern Kentucky. We are truly a place that you can locate and send goods to the entire world. It's an exciting time to be a Kentuckian. And when we're providing more opportunity, we see gains in even some of the toughest areas. Last week, we announced that overdose deaths in the Commonwealth have decreased for a second year in a row, thank God, with a nearly 10% decrease compared to the previous year. Now, in that previous year, we were one of only 8 states in the country with a significant decrease. That was 5%. That 2022 5% was the first decline since 2018. So seeing 2 years in a row is both important and should give us hope that if we keep going and keep pushing, we can save even more lives and do even better in this current year. We've talked about all the ways that people on Team Kentucky are supporting recovery, and it's paying off. And the credit to this goes to the thousands upon thousands of Kentuckians working in law enforcement, seizing these dangerous drugs, working in treatment, helping people get back up on their feet, to second chance employers, to those who provide recovery housing, to so many others who are out there fighting for the inches that become the feet, that become the miles of progress. You know, this is an area where you don't see your work pay off every day, but you ought to see this report as proof that your collective actions are saving lives. It's working. Keep going. Keep working. We need you. We appreciate you. This year, we also learned that Kentucky leads the nation in our number of residential drug and alcohol treatment beds per capita. And we also recorded the 3 lowest recidivism rates in the last 3 years in over a decade. That is real progress. And it's showing that we can build a better Kentucky where even those that have fallen on hard times and in difficulty, that there are ways to provide second chances to get people back on their feet, and that we can take this prosperity and build a better Kentucky so we lose fewer people to overdoses. Hopefully we have fewer people that are ultimately incarcerated. We have fewer people who reoffend when they get out because we can repair that family and provide that good job. It's important as we experience this prosperity to do better for everyone in all of these areas. We also continue to try to do better every day to help our families recover from natural disasters. One of the most important announcements we've had this year is our administration partnering with the Kentucky Housing Corporation to build 953 affordable rental units in communities impacted by the 2021 tornadoes in Western Kentucky. This means a total of investment of more than $223.1 million, which we believe is the largest single housing investment that's been announced in the history of Kentucky. And what that was truly 2 groups coming together and saying, how can we do things differently to take dollars that we regularly have and pair them with disaster recovery dollars to do something truly special and at a magnitude we have never seen before. And these are rentals, which was the hole in the rebuilding, especially in the West, because FEMA doesn't cover rentals. And so now as we look at the rebuild, we can see all the different pieces truly coming together with the funding. And I think that this announcement was on top of our work to construct or repair 300 homes in the West. To date, more than 200 home building projects have been completed or are under construction or have been approved to start construction. When you move to the east, we've now announced 7 high ground communities in 4 counties. There's going to be at least 500 homes amongst the 7 of these, and that's just the ones that we as Team Kentucky are a part of. There are other nonprofits and there are private entities that will be building additional homes and opportunities on these sites. Just last week, I was in Perry County to present keys to a new home to flood survivor Melissa Neese. The celebration marked the Housing Development Alliance's 100th flood survivor to receive keys to a new home or receive significant repairs. The Alliance has completed 23 new homes and 77 home rehabs, and this is just one of the groups in the East. When you bring them all together, Fahy reports were well over 300 plus houses that have either been rehabbed and are out of the floodplain where people can safely live in, or are newly constructed homes. We're going to keep working. And we think this fall, and as we get close to the winter, we're going to have serious and significant construction on at least 2 of these major high ground communities. The Wayland site will likely be completed with all of their houses by that time. Thompson Branch, the cottages at Thompson Branch will be significantly under construction at that time as well. Excited to see all of that, along with the Breathitt County one-off sites. I think we have 9 of them now, knowing we've got to continue to find more. So listen, we have a lot more work to do in Eastern Kentucky. This is a rebuild that's going to take years, but we're going to see the hard work of acquiring these properties, of putting in the utilities, and the utilities are probably the hardest and most expensive piece, really pay off when we're able to start construction on neighborhoods immediately and not single houses. Tourism has been exciting in these first 6 months. 2 weeks ago, we announced that 2023 marked a new record year for Kentucky tourism, with $13.8 billion generated in economic impact and 95,222 jobs created or retained as tourism remains a major piece of our Kentucky economy. We've announced major new investments in our state park system as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Kentucky State Park System. Our downtown Kentucky main streets are thriving with millions of dollars that have been invested and new jobs that have been created. And in December, we announced that in 2022, Kentucky recorded its best year ever for its signature bourbon and spirits industry, with over $2.1 billion in new investments. That was in 2022, and approximately 700 new jobs for Kentucky residents. And there is more. Over the past 6 months, we've also worked with lawmakers to secure some exciting investments that will continue to support build-ready, job-ready sites and help us secure mega economic development projects. We're going to keep working to move our state forward by competing for federal funding on both the 4-laning of the Mountain Parkway, which for the first time in history, every part of the 4-laning is either completed, under construction, or under contract. We'll also keep pushing on the I-69 Ohio River crossing. We're going to keep building that better Kentucky for all of our communities by continuing our cleaner water program. There's a state of emergency right now in Salyersville and Magoffin County that shows what aging infrastructure can do. This is about investing in our future. And wow, this coming year is going to be incredibly exciting for expanding high-speed internet across the state, as we expect some good news from the federal government in its BEAD program soon, drawing down at least some of that money, we believe soon, with more to come. And remember, we just announced that Charter's 10,000th community that they were hooking up was Berry, Kentucky, a town of 350, as we celebrated with them, because for those 350 Kentuckians, that's just as important as internet anywhere else in our state. We're making historic progress, and I'm excited about it. There is more than enough credit for everyone. Our goal, my goal, in these next 3 years and 6 months is to sprint forward as fast as we can to make as much progress as we can so that we can look back on these 8 years that I had a chance to be in this role and to serve our people and to say we did everything we could to improve the lives of our Kentucky families. Also, as a reminder, next week, Americans will once again celebrate Juneteenth. This is an important day in our history as Americans, one where we stand united in acknowledging our past and our nation's greatest injustice. A day when we honor the strength and courage of African Americans and the contributions they have made and continue to make in our great country. Each year since taking office, I've signed a Juneteenth proclamation. Michael Brown read it in the first year. In each of them, we've proclaimed Juneteenth as National Freedom Day in the Commonwealth. And each year we urge the General Assembly to pass legislation officially making Juneteenth a state holiday. Legislators from both the House and the Senate have proposed the legislation, including Louisville Senator Gerald Neal and so many others. But each year, the supermajority refused to pass it. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." After years of inaction, I decided we could no longer wait to do what was right. So 2 weeks ago, I signed an executive order officially making Juneteenth an executive branch holiday in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We joined 28 other states that have done so. The significance of this day was also recognized by Judge Mueller right here in Franklin County, who became the first county after we made this declaration to also declare it a county holiday. Others in the state have done it. Jefferson County and Fayette County, I believe the city of Covington and several others. Now, this action finally gives this historic moment the recognition that it deserves, allowing government employees time off with their families to celebrate, to learn, and to reflect. So as a reminder, this Juneteenth, which is next Wednesday, executive branch offices will be closed. And again, I'd call on counties and local governments to do the same. Standing together, recognizing everything that African Americans have done, both in the past and the present, and will do in the future for this great country is important. And also looking at our history and acknowledging one of the ugliest chapters in our history, we must do it straight on without turning away. We cannot hide from our history. We cannot try to bury it, even the parts that are painful. What we have to do is recognize it, admit it, and try to learn from it, and acknowledge that the vestiges of that history still harm people today, still make it harder for some to succeed than others. We have to make that acknowledgement if we want to create that better tomorrow, and if we truly believe that everyone should be able to live out that full American dream, where if they work hard, they can build a great life for themselves and their family. And finally, today's team, Kentucky Allstars, are the University of Kentucky baseball team. They're headed to Omaha for the College World Series for the first time in program history. Congratulations to the players, coaches, managers, and staff for this incredible milestone. It's more than 120 years in the making. Their first game is Saturday, June 15th, which is also Will Beshear's birthday, at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, and they are playing NC State, which will in the future be known as the team that UK beat. The game will be broadcast on ESPN, so let's come together as Team Kentucky to support them as they make this Commonwealth proud. With that, we'll open it up to questions. I think we have 4 journalists here today. We'll start with Sarah Michaels.
Hi, Governor. At your inauguration, you talked about stopping the fighting within politics here, and I was curious about what your relationship with the legislature, how it stands now after 6 months.
I believe that we worked together with the legislature in that last session to secure a lot of good things in that budget, from a significant number of infrastructure projects that needed to be done, to economic development, to significantly increasing transportation funds for education, which has led so many school districts to give raises. I thought we had a good spirit of cooperation in the budget, meeting both with House leadership and Senate leadership a number of times. And we're able to really discuss in detail a lot of what we were seeking in the budget, and then for them to communicate back, because it's just as important for us to communicate about what we need to do our jobs, that if the legislature tries to give us a new job, create a new program, that they are communicating ahead of time so that we can tell them how some of the areas of government work, or how they're structured so as how to best achieve those goals. Now, listen, politics still exists in Frankfurt. And so if you ask someone from an opposite party whether or not we get along great, they probably won't say yes. There's a lot of theater that goes on. But we've been able to get a lot done. We'll continue to get a lot done. And as I look back, I mean, passing medical marijuana and sports betting, banning gray games, passing HHR, those were all required, bipartisan votes to get done. And then when I'm out in communities, it's exciting for me, sure, a member of the executive branch and the governor to stand up there and say, things are optimistic in Kentucky. We're really moving forward. But then to see that legislator, that's from a different branch of government, maybe from a different party, to say the same thing, that's a good thing. And so while we may argue while we're up here or in front of the media, when you're actually in somebody's community and everybody's excited about the way things are going, that's a good thing. At the end of the day, when I'm done with this, I won't remember any of the arguments. Hopefully I'll move on as quickly as possible from any of the arguments. But what I want to look back on is the progress we've made, to never judge my time in office by a number of D's versus R's in the legislature or anywhere else, but by how much we help people, by what the opportunities are like for people seeking a job now versus when we came in. Where's our recidivism rate? How we help people dealing with addiction? What type of second chances do we have for folks out there? How many more healthcare opportunities do we have, whether you live in West Louisville or Morgan County? Those are the types of things that at the end of the day, if we can push out the politics and look at as people, then I think we'll be really excited about the things that are happening. But for these first 6 months, one of the most important things is economic development hasn't slowed down at all. And that's really important to keep that going as long as we can. We never know how long these windows of rapid growth will stay open, but what we can do is work as hard as we can within that window. Tom.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon to you. A couple of quick questions based on things you mentioned today. Do you have a date in mind for submitting the Memorial Day storm damage assessments? And secondly, is there any change in the timetable of one of those EV battery plants in Hardin County?
So on seeking the presidential disaster declaration from the Memorial Day storms, I'll get an approximation from our emergency operations center, but it really is when we think we have enough damage documented to where we feel like we have a good probability of getting that disaster declaration. There was a lot of damage. And so I believe we at least should get a disaster declaration, but we've got to make sure that we have enough before we make that application. And while we have a couple of areas that were just devastated, it's not like the 2021 tornadoes or 2022 floods when the FEMA administrator could take a helicopter ride and say, oh yes, now this is going to qualify. We absolutely know. This is one where we've got to do the work and submit all the paperwork before we can get it. That does provide a delay in services. That's typically how FEMA works, but it's a process we have to go through. On the EV battery plants, the first one is just chugging along. Kentucky 1, and that will, we believe, open on schedule with full employment, maybe even a little bit more. Number 2 is still under full construction. I believe its operations will depend upon demand, but we've still got some time. While they've announced that they are no longer firm on the start date that they previously had for Kentucky 2, I don't believe it's off the table. I believe it's all based on demand, and so we've got a little bit of time to see. Now, I am convinced, based on May sales, as well as all the information that is out there, that this is absolutely the future. That plant will be full. Ford and SK will be ahead of others who have paused theirs, because what you see is you see growth in the EV market. You just don't see growth as fast as some people predicted. Well, look around. How many charging stations are there? The cost is still pretty high. That's the battery pack. It's coming down. And right now, it's still tough to qualify for the credits that are meant to push EV sales because not enough parts are made in America. That's why we're building all these things that are out there. So those 3 drivers that all of the economists and others said we're going to push it so fast haven't fully come together yet. We're still seeing the growth that's there. Those three come together. That's when I think we see the accelerated growth curve that people originally predicted. And those that have continued these projects, I think are going to have a dominant market position. Karen.
Governor, Juneteenth is something I didn't learn about in school. It's something I didn't learn about in
Yeah.
my adult life. And I've been interviewing some people over the last couple of weeks, some who just learned about it in the last few years or didn't really even know about it still. How significant is your executive order, and do you think this will spur the legislature and others to follow suit?
I hope this executive order spurs the legislature to declare Juneteenth an official state holiday. But if they don't, I'm going to continue to do it for executive branch employees, encourage the private sector to do the same. Listen, can't we all say that the end of slavery is a significant enough event to celebrate as a national holiday? And the statement that it makes about everybody's worth as an American, and about our understanding that while we live in the greatest country in the history of the world, we have made some terrible mistakes, and we've got to face them head on, recognize that, again, those vestiges still make it harder for some to succeed today, and ultimately recommit ourselves every year to never repeating major mistakes, but also to always try to be each other's neighbor. And again, it goes back in my faith to the golden rule that we love our neighbor as ourselves, and the parable of the Good Samaritan, which is about people from different regions that should have hated each other, in the times that it was written, being each other's neighbor. And and you look at that parable in context, and it tells us that we should have love and compassion for everyone on this earth. Carolina.
Governor, as we move towards Election Day, the battle over Amendment 2 is slowly starting to ramp up here in Kentucky. Are you planning on getting more involved in this? And what do you think are the chances that this amendment will actually be defeated?
Public dollars are for public schools, period. Public dollars should not be diverted to private schools. This is a direct attempt to defund our public school system. It will be detrimental and harmful to all of Kentucky, and it will leave the vast majority of our students behind. I intend to campaign against Amendment 2. I intend to defeat Amendment 2, along with anybody else that's out there. The vast majority of Kentuckians agree that public dollars are for public schools, and it's critically important that we beat this amendment. Again, the legislature keeps trying to do this. All this is a money grab by private corporations that see how much money we invest in our public education. And they try to give window dressing, like our public schools aren't getting results. But then they want to send the money to private schools that don't have the same rules or regulations. Well, again, if it's flexibility that's the issue, give our public schools more flexibility. But it's not fair to take money from a public school that you, the legislature, says has to do things a certain way and give it to someone else that does not. And when we think about especially rural Kentucky, there aren't many private schools. There aren't other options. And so another thing we're going to see is a lot of dollars flowing out of rural Kentucky education into urban Kentucky education, which again isn't fair to the entirety of students across Kentucky. So I believe we can and we will defeat Amendment 2. I think the legislature should knock it off, should stop trying to give these private corporations public dollars meant for public education. And how about we sit down and talk about the flexibility that public schools can have? If you're truly for the betterment of our students, let's talk about how we better that public school system. Okay, as we close, Father's Day is this Sunday. So happy Father's Day to my dad, Steve Beshear, to Brittany's dad, and to all of the fathers that are out there. It's an important job. It's important that we are in our children's lives, and it's important that we always try to be better fathers. And it's certainly probably the most important, most meaningful, and most rewarding title that I've ever had is being a dad. And I say that being the current dad of 2 teenagers, which is also the hardest job that I've ever had. So everybody out there, happy Father's Day. Enjoy Juneteenth. Also be thoughtful about what it means. And as a gift to everyone, no Team Kentucky update next week. Thank you all.